Hey folks, want to come on here and shoot another quick podcast episode. I'm home from being in London. Was there for about, I think, 3 weeks in total. Thankfully home. Unfortunately got my phone stolen, so it's been a bit of a challenging few days. I think I arrived, let me just double check. I arrived on, I think it was Monday. A bit of a mess, taken out of my hand. And I think it's a bit of an issue. I've heard it, two other people said it to me when I was there that I met. So quite frustrating, but kind of trying to keep positive and look on the bright side of life, and have managed to, well, in the process of sourcing a new phone at the moment. I know the new iPhone 17 has come out, so we'll wait and see. But onto the topic of today. I'm still on the hunt for a business or company to come on as a sponsor for the show. I can add a watermark, I think, at the top corner here, or hats, or maybe on the t-shirt. So if you know anyone that's interested in coming on for 1 to 3 episodes as a sponsor, then feel free to let me know. In saying that, I wanted to chat today about career breaks. And excuse me if there's noise in the background or the lighting is a bit off. I kind of just decided to plug in the laptop and shoot this episode. It was top of mind for me. And as you've seen by the title, this is hopefully about career breaks. I've took a career break for 4 years. I thought it was only going to take a year, to be honest, but it ended up going on for about 4 years. A number of things happened. I will just briefly read a summary. Coordinated and collaborated with a team of doctors to overcome mental and physical health issues. Completed a mental health training course, personal training course, and launched a side project. Planned and organized travel, a few other things, and yeah, there was a few other things in there. But the main thing, there is a number of resources online if you want to take time away. Some people call it, I think, a sabbatical. There may be some nuance there in the definition from your occupation or from your job or your position or role, whatever term you like to use. They may have differences. But I wanted to specifically talk about today an article that there is a journalist, I don't know if I can mention her name, I don't have permission, I didn't ask her yet, so I may not say her name, but she reached out over the last, I think this article came out in May 24, 2025, it's publishing, and it says her name on the article, so maybe I'll read it out in a sec. But it's about counting the cost of a career break. And thankfully now I find myself somewhat having a direction in life and back on my feet. But it did take a while. I'd be lying to you if I said it was easy. I know there's a lot of, I don't know, maybe glamour or hyped up about taking time away from work. And sometimes it's necessary. For me personally, it was mainly about health and well-being. But for other people out there, for a number of different reasons, sometimes outside one's control, when it's, but I won't go into it too much. But personal experience, mine was for my overall health and well-being. And I'll talk about the article, and it's under, I'll link it in the description. I won't go on too long about this podcast. It's another solo one. It's called Counting, it's under the personal finance category in the Financial Times, and it's Counting the Cost of a Career Break. I won't read out the entire article, but just some interesting points. Taking a work hiatus is growing in popularity, but the price of getting back to work can be steep, despite its promise of returnships. And the author is Isabel Woodford. Hopefully she doesn't mind me giving her a quick shout out. She reached out via LinkedIn. It's published on, as I mentioned, the 24th of May, 2025. I'll just read the intro. Many of us will have fantasized about a well-timed break from the professional treadmill, imagining what we could do with all of the time to focus on ourselves or our families. Some might even have thought about rolling the dice again and retraining in a different field. Career breaks are growing in popularity among high-earning professionals for both men and women. A LinkedIn survey found that nearly 2/3 of employees have taken an extended break from their careers. In the UK, around 90,000 people now take a career break each year, and according to the Chartered Institute of Personnel and development. What started as a necessity for caregivers has evolved into a luxury. And it goes on a bit more. I won't get into it too much. Maybe I'll just one more paragraph. Jeez, I can't pronounce that word. Maybe I need to have some more water. It goes on a bit much. No, not a bit much. Excuse me. Isabel, I apologize. It does not go on a bit much. It is a great article. I did not mean to say that. I'm just in from. I was out and about during the day, so it's now nearly 5 p.m. in the evening time. But again, back to the topic of the podcast. Let me just look up how to pronounce this word. Emblematic. Emblematic? Excuse me. Emblematic. Great English. Excuse me. I'm a dyslexic, so reading has not always been my strong suit, but I have gotten better at it over time, and I feel pretty narcissistic now, so I won't get into too much. But I'll cover that on another topic. I may need to read a bit more. I've taken a bit of a break, as I mentioned on one of my YouTube videos. Anyway, emblematic of this new cohort of career breaks is 39-year-old Greg Whitaker. He decided to quit his job as a senior legal recruiter last year after a difficult but ultimately successful IVF journey. He wanted to spend more time with his young children, prompting his career break, sometimes dubbed a grown-up gap year. And then it goes on to say, I think you may have to something to pay for this, so I won't go into too much. I felt I was missing more than I wanted to of their young lives. He says money, after all, isn't everything, and he had built up a financial buffer. Yet even for those who can afford to take a break, the question of money looms large. After 8 months off, and then it goes on about Whitaker's story, which I won't get into too much. It's a really interesting perspective on taking a bit of a hiatus from work. I was featured in the article, so I will just give my 2 cents of what I mentioned. I'll just give a quick bit of context of what is said. This is key given how quickly returners can find a new job and how long they lose their income impacts how economically punitive their break is. This is something Ryan, 30, has struggled with, having left an ad sales job at Google in Ireland more than 3 years ago to focus on his physical and mental health. As someone who's taken quite a long time off, it's been tricky to get back into tech. He says he's been job hunting for the best part of 2 years. In the meantime, he's been taking short-term gigs outside of tech to keep him afloat. This is not unusual for career breakers, even for those in professional services and with extensive qualification. Harvard Business School research in 2020 found that almost half of employers across the US, UK, and Germany automatically weeded out skilled candidates simply for having CV gaps of more than 6 months. That means there is still a stigma to the break. On top of that, older career breakers may find that their age adds further stigma. And it goes on to say, we still find that ageism embedded in recruitment processes, said Stuart Lewis, the chief executive of Restless, a digital community for the over 50s. One poll by a recruitment agency last year found that British employers considered a 57 to be too old. And then it goes to say, I'm not sure if I will continue, but it just goes to say a few other things about one's age and the aging population taking career breaks. Traditionally, the career break penalty has fallen on mothers. The article goes on to write from Isabel. I would have loved to interview her, but unfortunately, I just wanted to put a podcast out there this week. Maybe in the future, we will hop on here and have a chat. And it goes on to conclude. Hopefully, I can find the. Here it is. It says, it may be overly simplistic to put a definite price tag on something that can provide a significant emotional boost as a career break. Whitaker, for instance, says that he has no regret despite the financial headaches. However, there are, however, some prudent guardrails to consider, in particular to prepare for the break to go on longer than you intended, says UK-based career and burnout coach Dina Priest. Many people underestimate how long it can take to find the right role after a break, particularly one that aligns with their values, pays well, and allows for their lifestyle shifts they've made during their time off, she says. A break does not always involve an earnings dip in a new role, she says, but it is common. Meanwhile, those taking longer breaks should consider taking courses to upskill. These small but strategic investments go a long way in maintaining your professional currency and making your return smoother, Priest adds. That also includes staying connected with your network while you are away. Ultimately, says Cohen, a career break is rewarding, but it can come with invisible strings attached. It's still not easy to be a returner, she says. It's good to go in eyes wide open. And then it finishes, have you taken a career break or decided to retrain in a different sector? If so, would you recommend it? Please share your experience in the comments below. And I'd just like to add a few things that I've done in order. And it said 2 years there, I was looking for a role, but there's a lot of context maybe that wasn't there, and a lot of nuance. I already mentioned nuance, a lot of context that wasn't there. I don't want to sound like a bit of a. Anyway, I'll continue. For example, I don't think my health and energy was at a point yet where I could put full effort into. For example, I still needed extra sleep maybe, and I still needed that time, that 4 years, it said in the article. It went a little bit longer than expected to fully recover. Now 4 years, I feel like I'm finally, my energy's back. And I've also done a number of things. I've upskilled, as says in the article, which really helped me return from a career break. For example, I already mentioned the mental health course, the personal training course, learning a new skill like DJing, which was fun. And also content creation and personal branding has been massive help for me, especially on LinkedIn, and growing and getting back to where the momentum previously had, especially, as I mentioned, especially already, but LinkedIn has been a place for me where the more active I'm on, connecting with people, putting out content, and which I need to probably do more of. But and this podcast as well, just starting a project, and it's almost like that law of motion from, I don't need to sound like again, but maybe I'm not. I know it took 2 years to look for a job, but the law of motion refers to Newton's three laws. And the first one is, I think, an object in motion stays in motion, and an object in rest remains in rest. The sort of, a better term would be, I suppose, resilience or grit, to just keep going if you're out there on a bit of a break from work and you feel like nothing's working. Maybe experiment a bit with personal branding, particularly LinkedIn, depending on your industry. That's what I found has been super helpful for me. And keeping an eye on, I'm not a financial expert, but the finances, if there's any way. I took a part-time job, or I started other different I tried a number of different things to keep me, particularly minimizing my expenses and living with my folks. So yeah, I thought I'd be completely transparent. There's a number of things that I didn't mention. For example, positive stuff, which I'll talk about on the break as well, which I think is good for people to know. It's not all doom and gloom. There was also travel to Abu Dhabi, Dubai, London, a family wedding in Bologna and Milan, and also I had a bit of a stint going back to rugby. Trained for about half a season, kind of played, came off the bench maybe twice, which is good fun. But yeah, it's been, if nothing else, it's been a really, it's taught me a lot about patience, definitely a lot about resilience, and particularly grit. And just kind of, there's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth, and I think it's passion and perseverance is the definition of grit. And just been able to, when times get really tough and tricky, just been able to keep going. And thankfully, I don't have any dependents, and I live with my folks, and dependents being kids, or I don't have a partner, so or a wife. So thankfully, it's been a bit of a interesting experiment and experience, if nothing else. And I think I will leave it there in the 15-minute solo podcast. I think the biggest takeaway is, if you're out there and you're considering taking a break from work, I would just keep an eye on a number of things. It really depends on what the break's for, but the main thing is, in the whole article, is under personal finance, and that's what the whole thing is about. And it's really good. It's counting the cost of a career break, the article, Financial Times. So there's one thing One takeaway I suggest, maybe if you have the time, read the article. If not, maybe just keep an eye on the finances so you don't find yourself running out and looking for all sorts of places for a bit of money. But again, I'm not a financial advisor and this isn't financial advice. I don't mean to point the finger, but yeah, I probably need to talk to a financial advisor. Hopefully, I haven't offended anyone. But yeah, I'll stop there. That's 15 minutes in, and hopefully, you found that interesting, insightful. And if you want to chat about career breaks, feel free to reach out via LinkedIn or by email. Thanks, folks. Have a lovely evening.